strange young man who has some social issues.
Some social issues.
Some social issues, yeah. And it starts with saying that he sleeps with the light on, and the whole book is about unpacking that. And you only find out towards the end why he sleeps with the light on and what that event was that caused him to be like that.
But you've created a character that in the opening sequence of this book is, or comes across deeply superficial, flawed, but complex. And I often wonder when authors put together a character that is so larger than life in many ways. Was that fun to create this character, or did you have to go and is there some serious work behind it?
It was fun. He kind of created himself. And I suppose he's a composite character made up of people I've met in my life and come across in different ways, and he's kind of cobbled together out of different...
Yeah, because that was one of my questions before we started this conversation. Do you actually know a Nathan? Would you be friends with a Nathan in real life?
Not a Nathan in that form, but different people who make up Nathan, if you know what I mean.
Why the decision to write Nathan and his story from a very eye perspective, to follow it through Nathan's language and through his eyes? Why that choice?
I think to give him a very individual voice was part of the challenge, and that's why the style is the way it is, very short, choppy sentences. And Nathan is odd, and the language needs to reflect his oddness.
That was going to be my next question, because the sentences are short and choppy, but you've also done that it pulls you immediately into, for example, places like Kloof Street, Kloof Neck, St. George's Mall. And for somebody, if you grew up or know those kind of areas in Cape Town, it creates this picture that you might not necessarily have seen Cape Town in this way. Why that choice to be so sharp and short and punchy? Because it does give you a pace to this book that you're literally drawn into it.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things there. First of all, Cape Town is seen from a different viewpoint. It's the darker side of Cape Town, the kind of underbelly, not the touristy, nice beaches, that sort of thing. And the choppiness kind of helped to create a character out of Cape Town, I suppose, as much as the people in the book, and just gave the reader cues about how strange Nathan was.
There's a particular conundrum here, because Nathan is asked by Madge, who was an antique dealer, suffers from terminal cancer, to do something for her. And I can't begin to imagine if you were put, and if that was a serious question thrown at you. But what was it about that premise that was so enticing? Imagine somebody asking you to do something that intimate almost.
Yeah, that's needed to happen because it's a catalyst to what happens later in the book. So, and it just goes to Nathan's strangeness, because if there's one person he had a very close relationship with, it's Madge. So for her to impose on him really and manipulate him into doing what she wanted him to do, just kind of shows that Nathan has a soul and a bit of a heart, and he's not a complete psychopath, I suppose.
But you've created a strange character, because there's so many questions and little clues at the beginning that even I think maybe towards the end of the book that you kind of share, but you do kind of set up the story at the beginning, and I don't want people to play detective and go and look for every clue, and then they've got to read it in the way you intended. But why that? I don't want to call it misdirection, but I think it's very clever that you've positioned ideas or thoughts about Nathan. For example, the paintings on the wall when he takes off, the issues around family.
Yeah, I think that readers don't like to feel cheated. So when things resolve towards the end of the book, all those little clues that have been seeded throughout the first part make sense, and you realize that you're not being cheated. You could have kind of figured this out for yourself in a way, although it seems that people aren't figuring it out, which is fantastic, because it was quite a risky strategy to write like that.
Yeah, and it also leads me to the next idea that this should be a film. Or it should be a movie or a series.
I agree with you 100%.
Of course you've got it. You wrote it. You also deal with I think one of the big issues is mental illness.
Yeah. I think we're all on the scale of nuts, From 0 to 100, we all sit along that scale somewhere. And I think some people just have it worse than others. And it was interesting to unpack, because I have no psychology background or anything like that. So it was very interesting to try and create this character and then dig into his head to see what was going on there.
You're at a book fair at the moment in Johannesburg. After this interview, you go back to the book fair. What's the reaction been to Wasted?
It's been very good. It's reviewed very well. It seems to be selling very well. I'll know towards the end of the year how it's doing. And yeah, it's been going great. So
well, let's
see
hope
how it goes at the book fair later today.
Well, let's hope it gets turned into a film and Leo or one of the big actors play Nathan Lucius. It could be interesting. If
No,
it was
getting a bit old these days.
It's getting a bit old. Well, okay, let's hope it gets picked up. That was author of Wasted, Mark Winkler. He's on a wasted tour. No, he's not wasted. He's on a wasted tour here in Johannesburg, talking to us about the book itself.